Hello, Mr. Frank Aazami. Thank you for joining us. As you know, we've created this hillside website for people looking to build on a hillside, a dream home on a hillside property. And I thought you were uniquely suited to talk to our audience because of your background. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what is your background?
Thank you, Nick. First of all, thank you for including me in your program. I'm a real estate agent, but before that, I was an investor. I was flipping homes and selling homes, and before that, I was an entrepreneur, developed a chain of restaurants. So my whole background is in real estate and business development. So my passion for working in the field that I am is really helping families find their dream home. And before I can do that, I have to understand more about what architects, what you do, and the team that you work with to be able to make that dream a reality. So over the years, I focused on really because our market obviously had a tumble, right? We had a market that was, robust, and then all of a sudden, we had too many investors designing and building the wrong home. Maybe the orientation was wrong, the style was wrong. And so I said, okay, how can we make this better? And I remember talking to your team, to your company, and you guys said, okay, why don't we have a networking session and just bring, a lot of the professionals together so they can collaborate. And through those professionals that you brought to in that circle, really changed the landscape of this town. Values got better, quality of homes got better, opportunities got better. People are no longer fearing to build on Hillside because they can, and because they can afford themselves the views, the style. Like everyone has their own need, and I think you guys have done a really good job, with your renderings, really understanding what floor plan really matters to them. How do they live through the house, through the day part? Do they work from home? Do they need two offices? Do they need all these longevity amenities? I think it's a brilliant move to identify even more of these hillside so-called either tear downs or new builds.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, of course, I'm passionate about the hillside home and working with agents who understand and get it and who work with end users. So the people actually living in the house, it's an invaluable kind of connection.
No doubt about it. I think generally speaking, people don't like to wait, right? They want things faster, quicker. And I think anyone that owns a property, a tear down or a lot, and they put it on the market. I remember like talking to your team, like, hey, I got this listing. They've been trying to sell it for years or a decade, and it hasn't happened. What can we do? And your team came up with renderings of what can take place there, what can actually build there. And if you had CCNRs in place, or if you had city ordinance or hillside ordinance, civil engineering, this, like understanding the civil part of it, the survey part of it, what really can be built there, not just throw an image up there, helped us, sell those and actually build those lots. And I think you're going in the right direction. I think people just consulting with you guys, so you understand what they're trying to achieve. Is it for them? Is it for resale? And taking it all the way through and say, okay, if it's going to be a spec, if it's not going to be for you and it's going to be for resale, what do we need to build? What floor plan actually works? What needs to be in here for it to achieve a good return? And I think consulting with you guys, getting it through the entitlement stage, like if I had two lots side by side on a hillside, and one had full entitlement or even full plans, okay, even if it didn't go through approvals yet, because that could be timely, on a hillside, right, Nick?
Absolutely. Yes.
Generally speaking, let's just say you have your plans. That would take, let's just say in Paradise Valley, it will take a year, right? Close to it? Or is
I
it
would
more?
think.
Yeah.
No, around a year. Around a year is a good.
Depending on how many, red lines you get, and you got to, get in front of the approvals again. But yeah, I mean, if you could speed up, if you could save people a year, and let's just say one lot is, I'm just throwing a number, $3 million. Okay. The other one has plans. Well, I think I know I have already. I've sold a lot with plans, and they like the plans and they know what's going to go. Because once you create a plan, then you can do some renderings, renderings, and some of these renderings actually, or even little short videos, actually feels like the house is already built. And that's where the emotion kicks in, and people step up to really consider it. And I think it's brilliant to have more of those opportunities out there.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm taking away a couple of things from that. One is there's different, let's say different type of client. The one that is less patient, let's say, who wants that dream home, but that process is just so overwhelming. Because on hillsides, it can take a long time. And sometimes design does get, I wouldn't say compromised. Design might change from what exactly they might want because of the different ordinances, because of height restrictions, and because of maybe protected washes or just natural features, setbacks, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's one type of buyer who you could help, which would be the one who does want something pretty custom, is okay sacrificing some of their own customization to get something that works on the site in a similar style that they would like, and does not want to spend an additional year waiting for that house.
Absolutely. Then you have those that actually don't want to wait a year either. And so getting it to fully permitted, then I think that even brings different pool of buyers. And that goes to the next tier. So you really expand your pool of buyers as you invest more time and approvals in place. The more you have in place, even going to the next level, which is your interior book, your interior design book. So if they even invest in that and now you know what the surfaces are going to look like, that speeds up the sell. I even tell people, you know what, just go. If you have the means, once you have your approval, get the footprint in. Once they see the property, the foundation is there, because it may take some time to get the site prep. And site prep is a kind of unknown sometimes, depending on what kind of rock you're going to hit, and how you're going to have to really cut into it and build your footing. So get it going. And once people see vertical, that's when they step up. I think it just gets magical. People want new, they want never lived in. They don't want to wait. They just want to go right into it. They cut a check and do it. So I think you're going on. Not that I know you're going in the right direction. And having more and more of these on the board, and they know that they can come to one website and see a lot of opportunities. It's a game changer. I mean, who doesn't like to work with a specialist? You guys become a specialist in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, selfishly too, we enjoy it. So these are the types of projects that we kind of live for. And I like what you're saying, because the more uncertainty you could remove from a potential buyer, the easier of a bite it is to enter. Right? Because there's all these stories of, well, the earthwork, that cost me, an extra $300,000. Did not expect, or such and such happened. So the more, let's say we get through the first process of planning, so just the hillside part, so some entitlement stuff, then we go through building permits, and at each level we're getting closer to the product and closer to a better, just a number that someone could attach to the actual build. And the more you go, the more certain you are. And I think going through earthwork takes away so much of that uncertainty of a hillside.
No doubt about it. Everybody's like, okay, it's unknown. The more unknowns you remove, the greater the chances are to transact, develop, enjoy, that type of thing. There are people out there that just they quit, like, halfway through. They don't want to do it. So those people are buyers, your buyers, your clients that, like, I like this, tell me about this. And can I change? Because maybe it's still in motion. They can change the light color palette for the surfaces to dark color palette, or give them 3 different choices. Like, hey, listen, you still can choose what variation you want to do. And then I always tell our architect friends, and I've worked with you guys, where we left a few things out because it's costly. It's just more of a personal need or want. So then, oh yeah, you want to have a longer pool, we can accommodate that. Or if you want higher ceilings or mezzanine or whatever it is that you can achieve for them, those are just little extras that they'll enjoy, and then it makes the project even better.
Yeah. And I could tell you're getting into it too.
I've been into it for a long time. I always wanted to be an architect, but didn't have the brains for it. So the next best thing is to work with them. So, what we can do, Nick, is we can identify some of these lots or teardowns and kind of ask them, let's engage with them and see what their story is. Where are they going next? And I think if they see the benefit, if they can see light at the other side of the tunnel, I think they step up and do it. And I think your buyers, your end users can really, this is such a needy niche here, because I don't know of a website that can include all these opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very cool way to take this thing, where we do identify those and even start the design and all that. Because what you're describing too, taking away the unknowns, it makes sense for the person who wants that dream home, assuming we design it right. But it also opens the doors for maybe some developers who want to, do multiples or reduce that risk also. I do want to hear one thing, I guess. So we're talking about it, and we love these hillside properties, but what are some of the features you think a hillside property, you did touch on it a bit, but let's talk more maybe directly about some of the features that make hillside properties great in your opinion, and what a prospective buyer should be looking for when either choosing something or deciding to build on a hillside lot?
So there are two types of hillside. You can go hillside where you're from the grade, you're going down to the pad, or you have a hillside where you got to go even further higher to get to the pad. So each one of these have their own pool of interest. Like when it's all done, there are people that are going to step up and say, you know what, I want my level of finish or my access, maybe because of the cars that they drive or just fearing on a hillside. So there are people that like one over another. And so each one of these sites, I know being a great architect as you guys are, you figure out a way, the highest and best use for the consumers today. Consumers don't like too many steps. Okay, what do we do with that? When they pull in with their cars, and before even stepping outside of the car, there's their views. Like from inside the car, they have views. That's pretty impressive. That's really impressive. People love drive-throughs. They want to come in and then drive out. Can we accommodate? Each one of these sites can accommodate a different flow. And if we can get that across, maybe somebody wants privacy, like total privacy. So how do you design it on a hillside so if they're in a canyon, you can protect their privacy? Okay, because I know you're limited with height walls, you're limited with shrubbery, you're limited because hillside has its own ordinance, right? And that's an art. That's something that it's beyond me. I can only point it out and say, hey, if we do it this way, we can sell it quicker. And so, having areas where, because you're on a hillside, you're limited with yard space. So how can we open up patio with sliders or just disappearing walls, we call glass walls, where now your interior now becomes part of the exterior because it flows through from patio to patio, but then it closes because you want to be in that space because you need livable space, air conditioned space. So there's a lot that we think through, you guys think through, we enjoyed seeing it and touching it. And so, I think each site has its own way of delivering, I call it features and benefits.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and then maybe let's touch a little bit on the differences between, let's say, a fully graded lot in a neighborhood versus a hillside lot. Of course, the views are going to be better probably on the hillside. But what are the differences maybe more technically in the process with you? Does it change much, or how do you deal with someone they want a custom home and they're not sure, should I go in a flat graded area or on a hillside? How do you handle someone like
Great
that?
question. Great question. So it starts with family. It starts with pets. It starts with, access. There are people that, fear, like my wife, for example. I live on a hillside. And so she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't feel right going through these streets to get to our home. And then it became a second nature, right? So she's over it. She loves the hillside. I don't think she will go back to flat. But it all depends. Like if they have kids and they need a whole lot of yard, how can we accommodate that? Maybe we'll go look at hilltop, and there are some hilltop opportunities where the homes are dated. So you just come in and rebuild it again. And now they have a yard because it's hilltop and they have views. And hopefully if it's on a ridge, you're going to get views from even greater directions. Because if you're on a hill, you can only look 180 degrees or whatever it is that open it. On a hilltop, you have both sides. So those opportunities exist, and it's our job to find those for the end users, the families that want to use it. Again, I don't convince anybody to do it. They tell me what they need, and then I'll go and find what they're what could work for them. But in regards to the difference between each, well, I can tell talking to builders, it costs more to build on a hillside. We know that because of engineering and material use, but the gain is so much more. Like the gain are the views that you're achieving. And sometimes the airflow, obviously you put a flag down, you see how much air hits it, you put a flag up, you can see the flag really moving, there's airflow. So in this town, airflow matters. I mean, I have a listing right now where we open up the doors and there's always a breeze going through it. It's like, wow, you could never get that like down below. It doesn't airflow it the same.
Right. That's awesome. And probably not something people think of that often, that airflow. And
Mm-hmm.
it goes well with the indoor exterior that you were talking about. It's, Arizona might be hot in the summer, but there's times when there's no place better than being here.
And no doubt about it. And if you have airflow and you can just add a little mister, boom, changes everything. Or swamp coolers that you put like we used to do. Now air conditioners are efficient enough that they can probably run. But yeah, I mean, back in the day, we cooled the exterior with that, and the wind would bring that cool air in too. So yeah.
I love it. What else do you think is maybe the top one or two most important things for someone from your perspective, from the real estate agent perspective, for someone looking to build on a hillside?
On a hillside, the first thing I recommend, I mean, people say, oh, get a builder there. No, I think we need to bring in civil engineering, you guys, like understand the survey better. And then you have a topography, you have a topo, and then you can, but you have to tell me, I mean, am I on the right track with that recommendation? That's what I've been recommending, you know. Builder comes less
Yeah.
to really like, price it, and you can shop builders and see which builder is really a good fit for your architect and for yourself even, because different builders have different ways of doing things. Some are just taking X amount of jobs, or some are just taking non-hillside, and then those that build hillside, that's next level building. That's those are the big boys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, no,
because
I
they
do
have
think
the material and the resources for it, right?
yes, and especially so a word we hear a lot here is the hard dig. That's really the X factor when you're preparing the earthwork during construction. If you have a builder who's built nearby, you do get kind of a better idea. You'll never be certain, but at least you get a little better idea of how things look under the surface. But I do agree. I mean, civil engineer, very big, especially at the beginning. If you have washes going through the property, what the soil is like, what type of retaining walls might be necessary. So civil engineer, very important, especially at the beginning. Architect, and builder too. I mean, sometimes we'll go to a site with a builder at the very beginning as well. So
And Nick, to
yeah,
your point, there are people out there that certain types of utilities are not acceptable. Sometimes you have to, put a lift station for your sewer. There are people that lived in one, maybe had a bad experience or a different experience. They may not want to have a lift station. Sometimes you get into situations where the city says there's sewer close by. There's no way we're going to approve the septic. So now you got to connect to that. And what's the cost of that and the ability to do that? And with solar being so popular, if there are ordinances where you cannot place it in certain places and how much of it you can use actually, those to come to play. And one big thing is water. I live on a hillside, and I can't tell you how many times I had to like make sure I bring a water pressure system in place to make sure I maintain it, and so that motor doesn't. So now I have a holding tank. But if you're doing it from the get-go, I've been on your projects where below the swimming pool was the holding tank. The entire length of the swimming pool was the holding tank for water. That's pretty impressive. You know what that tells me? Like if the water's out for a whole week or two, you still got water. And God forbid there's fire, you got water on top, water on the bottom. I mean, you could just use that. And so that's all by design, not by luck. And then the generators that you guys, I've seen you put some generators on a hillside that could really benefit in case there's an interruption. There's something goes on in the city or down the road. So there's a lot that goes into your field that only the good ones like you guys, again, you've done so much of it that it's just you checks all the boxes.
yeah,
And that brings,
absolutely.
yeah.
I would agree. And then there's also when you start getting into places that are not incorporated into cities, so no jurisdiction except for the county, then sometimes you're bringing in, I mean, there's septic, then you're digging a well, things like that. So
Oh
that
God.
comes into play when you're
Right.
outside of city limits. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot there that I think if people step up early enough, they can answer a lot of those unknowns. And the more unknowns are removed, I think I'm repeating myself again, but the more you take those away, then your property is worth more, valued more. Like let's just say two on a hillside. One will take a couple $100,000 for site prep. The other one's going to take a couple $1 million in site prep. Okay. So what does that do to the whole build costs out of pocket? And if you know that upfront by connecting with you guys and knowing that, then you can price it correctly. And that doesn't become like people usually with lots, they tie it up for 30 plus days. 30 days is bare minimum. So they can do their due diligence. But what if you have all the answers for them? Now the due diligence is shorter, your close of escrow is shorter, you could close faster. And we talked about how today time is so important for everybody. Like
Yeah.
everybody wants to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. I
Yeah.
would agree with you. I'd always put the caveat we don't actually know until we start digging for
Yeah.
the earthwork. But you're right. The more you could plan ahead, the more you could prepare for these things, the better off you are, especially on such a complex type of home and type of lot.
Yes, absolutely. So, and one thing I love most about this exercise is, if there is no end user in play, you guys come up with some robust, like cool renderings that becomes like one of one. And you guys have awarded for some of those renderings. You know it, and I know. I remember one rendering you guys did out of your firm. It was like the most viewed property on Telegraph. It's like number one website, in Europe. And I think people want the trophy homes, especially on a hillside. They want something different. They don't want a cookie cutter. So when there is nobody in play and say, hey, you just do what you think it's right. Now you can be not only an architect, but an artist. And you guys are artists in your own ways by using, not only material, but like your overhangs and your angles. It just becomes a work of art. And that by itself then takes it to the next category of pricing. It's priced more. So it's like if you're behind an artist and you tell the artist what to do, that artist's not going to do their best work. They do their best work when they're left alone. Yeah. So
Well,
see some of those. I can't wait, or more of it.
right. Well, you too, you're an artist in the way you could guide people to their dream homes and their dream lots, and you do some great work too. So thank you very much, and thanks
My
for doing
work,
this.
my work is easy. I just promote what you guys create. My work is I come into play and just brag about how special it is. Okay. And if I do my job right, I get the eyeballs, I convert the eyeballs into purchase contracts and jobs, and then the project has momentum, has a taker. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
inviting me.
of course. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.